ZFA is a locally recognized cartoon.
Hooray!
But did you know that the series is growing incredible details most people never spot, but
It's exciting, isn't it?
homes on the hills. One of these details is the fact that practically all the houses and the residents of Peppa's town are located on top of some hill, just like the school and any other building that exists in this cartoon. This is a characteristic that catches the eye and makes many people wonder why, and that's where various theories about this detail emerge, such as the fact that the town constantly suffers from floods, as seen in the episode Flood. Probably for this reason, Daddy Pig, who is an architect, is always creating houses already on top of hills as well, which would make perfect sense.
What are you doing, Daddy?
I'm building a new house.
It's very small.
Daddy Pig and tools. Despite being an architect and creating house models for Mr. Bull and other animals to build, the interesting thing is that Daddy Pig doesn't have much skill with construction tools, which becomes quite clear when we see him trying to put a simple nail in the wall and ends up creating a huge crack. And as if that wasn't enough, he hangs the picture of his children to try to cover up his crime. Honestly, I don't know if this is the kind of example a father should give to his two little kids. Don't make a mess, Daddy. Oh, don't be silly, Peppa. 3 little pigs. But the most interesting thing about all of this is that Daddy Pig being an architect is directly related to one of the oldest fables out there, the 3 little pigs. In it, the smartest pig built his house with bricks. When Mr. Bull arrives with his construction team, we see them asking what material will be used in the construction. These are the 3 types of materials the 3 little pigs used in the fable. And the big bad wolf ended up blowing down the first 2, but couldn't with the brick house. So, could the pig who built the brick house in the fable be an ancestor of Daddy Pig and consequently of Peppa too? Even more than that, could Wendy's wolf family that appears in the end be descendants of the big bad wolf? After all, they blow on the house to test if it's really firm.
Let's see how strong it is. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll...
These are just a few of the 14 details we're going to show you today that many people have never noticed in Peppa Pig. Doctors versus veterinarians. If you've watched or still watch Peppa Pig, you must know that it's a world where animals live together in society as if they were humans, and they have everything we have in our world, including hospitals, doctors, and nurses. But what's most striking is that the animals themselves have pets, like Grandpa Pig, who has a parrot. But if everyone is animals, could the doctors, like Dr. Bear, who treats Peppa when she's sick, also not be considered veterinarians, just like Dr. Hamster? After all, he only treats animals too. But apparently Dr. Hamster only cares for animals that don't behave like humans, which leads us to the next point on our list, zoo. Since we're talking about a world where almost everyone is animals, with a few exceptions that we'll talk about in a moment, could the zoo be considered a kind of prison? In the zoo episode, we see that there are animals like turtles and penguins inside.
Here are the tortoises.
Ooh!
We keep this gate shut so they don't run away.
Which implies that only animals that don't have developed intellect and don't act like humans can be in the zoo, just like the animals we mentioned that are the characters' pets. You probably already noticed that we're going to talk a lot about animals, so today, let's comment #animal down here. Humans and other beings. But the coolest thing is that in Peppa's world, there are not only animals but also humans, as we can see from the pirate and Santa Claus who appear in the show. Not to mention some vegetables and fruits that also have their own lives and consciousness, like Mr. Potato and his group who perform a Christmas show for the children, which makes the world of Peppa Pig even more intriguing, don't you think? Hamster versus guinea pigs. Talking again about pets and going back to the veterinary clinic episode, one thing stands out. One of the people who has pets is Madame Dizelle. She has 2 guinea pigs, which she even takes to be examined by Dr. Hamster. The detail is that guinea pigs and hamsters are practically identical, which in itself is a great irony of the show. But there is basically one difference between them. While guinea pigs live on average for 8 years, hamsters have a life expectancy of always 3 years, which means that Dr. Hamster will treat the guinea pigs that are practically identical to her, only they will live almost 3 times longer than the doctor. Of course, this would only apply if she were a common animal, which is not the case, since she, like the other characters, must have a life expectancy similar to that of humans, always 10 a.m. Here's a detail that many people never noticed in Peppa Pig regarding the clocks in the series. When the show deals with moments that happen in the morning, almost always the clocks show that it's 10 a.m., like when the children go to the zoo, or when Peppa and George enter Daddy Pig's office and he's drawing Mr. Wolf's house, always 4 p.m. But when the show deals with moments that happen in the afternoon, the clock always shows that it's 4 p.m., like when the pig family goes to Madame Dizelle's house and in many other moments as well. Probably the animators do this to avoid mistakes like putting the time at 4 a.m. and actually still being morning, or something like that. After all, 4 a.m. would be too early to be at school, don't you think? Wanted by the police. There's a character in Peppa Pig that the show makes it clear has strong tendencies to do the wrong things, Mr. Fox. We see that he already fooled Emily Elephant, who was taking care of the product stand at the festival. Takes everything there without paying a single cent.
How much money have you raised?
I didn't need to. Mr. Fox took it away for nothing.
And when Grandpa Pig is taking care of the chickens and talks about animals that eat at night, suddenly Mr. Fox appears, as if he's about to smash some of Peppa's grandpa's chickens. This proves that the character doesn't have very correct habits. And if we look closely, in front of the police station there are 2 papers on the board with a symbol that is just like the one on Mr. Fox's van, where he has several items. Surely many of them, if not all, were stolen. The funniest thing about all this is that despite his father being a thief, Fred Fox dresses up as a policeman, which could mean that one day the son will have to arrest his own father. This is a doubt that I have, but I also have a certainty. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, you should subscribe right now. Trust me, it's totally worth it. Barbecue. In the episode The Fire Engine, there's a small detail that is even disturbing in the series. We see Peppa's dad saying he's going to meet the daddy's football team. And not only that, they're also going to have a barbecue. But that's pretty weird because among the people who are going to participate in the barbecue are a pig and a cow. So in this case, what kind of meat are they going to grill in the end? Will it be the dads from the football team? Cannibals? That's definitely very creepy, don't you think? Mr. Bull at school. This leads us to another point. Why is Mr. Bull part of the dad's football team since he doesn't have any children? At least not in Peppa Pig school. More than that, why is Mr. Bull always present when it's time to pick up the kids from school? Since, as we mentioned, he doesn't have any children there. This may be a mystery that hasn't been explained yet, but we suspect a reason, which would be the secret crush. It seems that the reason we always see Mr. Bull at school would be a secret crush he has on Madame Gazelle, but it wouldn't be so secret because it seems that the children's teacher not only knows about it, but also rejects poor Mr. Bull, as we can see in the episode Magic Words. At the beginning of the show, we see the poor lover trimming the grass at school, and then he informs Madame Gazelle that he had finished, and she simply slams the door in his face without any ceremony. But after the children warn her that she didn't say thank you, she opens the door again. Thanks, Mr. Bull, and when he was in the middle of his response, she slams the door on the lovesick man's face again. Apparently, Madame Gazelle really doesn't intend to find a replacement for her late husband. The detail is that someone has to let Mr. Bull know so he can give up. Mr. Lion Carnivore? Going back a bit to when we talked about the zoo, we can really notice that some animals are carnivores in Peppa Pig's world. One of them is definitely Mr. Lion, who is responsible for the zoo. When the children's teacher comments that not all animals eat vegetables, the zoo employee smiles and calls Madame Gazelle Madame New. This is a reference to one of the animals that lions hunt and devour the most in Africa, indicating that at that moment, Mr. Lion's instincts were making him feel like doing the same thing with Madame Gazelle. I know this is a joke from the show, but it's still bizarre. Anyway, if I were the children's teacher, I wouldn't turn my back on Mr. Lion. After all, he might end up thinking once again that she's a new, and instincts might take over. Check out the 2 videos appearing for you right now. Choose one of them and click on it to continue here with us.